1862. Victor Hugo publishes Les Misérables, a 1,463-page epic, telling the story of an escaped convict reforming his life on the backdrop of the June Rebellion in Paris, 1832. Over 100 years later, in 1980, a musical version of this tale is given a concept album. This album was presented to producer Cameron Mackintosh, and in 1985 it premiered in London, transferring quickly from the Barbican to the West End, where it has become a mainstay and a worldwide sensation, leading to productions around the world, including Japan. 1987, it premiered in Japan, a massive hit over there with frequent productions still happening to this day. And with that, it has led to many adaptations, movies, revivals, staged concerts, arena tours, but in 1998, the most important adaptation of this musical was released by a fan in Japan. Today I'm going to tell you the story of the most wonderfully chaotic adaptation of the Les Mis musical, Armjo, the Les Mis fighting game. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie, I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do versus brackets and tier lists, and if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me out, helps out the channel. But let's dive into this game. I have been waiting for months to talk about this. First, let's start with a little bit of history on the game. Armjo is a late 90s, early 2000s indie game released for free online. I don't get to speak about gaming much on this channel because, you know, I'm speaking about musicals. It's very rare that you get a case like this. But I have loved gaming for a long time. I mean, I stream over on Twitch gaming every single week now. I grew up on Nintendo games. I love a bit of Dead by Daylight. And I really love seeing the rise of indie games. Since games like Undertale drew such massive success, we've seen a real trend and a rise in indie developers being able to work on their own projects to great success. Think of Five Nights at Freddy's, Poppy's Playtime, even things like Among Us. These games from indie or small developers that have been able to build their own space within the industry. But I still think there's such a charm in the early indie games, the Flash game era, and that is very much where this game comes from. Now, some of you Les Mis fans may be thinking, why Armjo? And I think that's another thing that adds to the charm of this game. The title of the game, Armjo, comes from a misheard title of the Japanese name of Les Mis. Developer Takase heard the title of Les Mis in Japanese, Mujo, and misheard it as Armjo. He found this so funny that when he developed this game, he titled it that. And I think if you approach this game with that mindset, it becomes so much better. Now, this game has in parts become a little bit of lost media. A lot of sites about this game have disappeared from the internet, and thankfully there are some archives, and you can still access the website to download the latest version, as well as it being available on other archive sites. But today, I'm going to walk you through this game. I want to dive into this game itself. I want to look at the characters they include, the movesets, and any references we can pull out to the Les Mis musical. So, in this game, there are 11 characters you can play. It was initially 10, and then in the final version of the game, they released an extra character. Now, the first couple are ones you would expect. You know, you have Jean Valjean, obviously. You have Enjolras, you know, he seems like a fighter. It makes sense for him to be in here. You have Cosette, not as much of a fighter, but, you know, an important character to Les Mis. You have Eponine, a lovely character. And again, another character who kind of makes sense to be here. You have the Thénardiers paired together. You have Javert, of course, the main antagonist, and you have a police officer, as well as Marius, who was the character who was added later, much later. The game originally came out in 1998, and Marius was added in 2006. But you may realize there that we're not quite up to the right count of characters. The rest of the roster are filled with some of the most chaotic picks I have ever seen, but this is beautiful. First off, we have Robo-Jean. Yes! Robo-Jean. If you can't work it out for yourself, this is a robot version of Jean Valjean. When you play the game in practice mode, you are up against this robot version of Jean Valjean. And you may be thinking and asking, well, Is this set in the future? Is this a future version of Les Mis? No. Okay, so is there lore given to Robo-Jean? Now, would you believe me if I said that wasn't the weirdest character they add? Because we also have the character of Judgment, a godlike final boss who is just overpowered like hell. Takase is also fairly vague about who Judgment is, saying that Judgment is someone who judges the souls of the characters in-game. Is he God? Is he devil? Or question mark. All we know is that if you play as Judgment, you are winning this game. But again, that is not the weirdest character in this game, because we also have Pon Pon. You know, you may play this and you might be like, okay, maybe Pon Pon is like a toy that young Cosette plays with. No, Pon Pon is a cheeky female rabbit from an alternate universe. They are an original character who is just thrown into this game and challenges Jean Valjean, Javert, and the Thénardiers to fights. I love the fact that this game took these characters, took the Les Mis ones, then added their own ones, but still there's characters that it could have added as well. Fantine isn't here. Where's Fantine? There may be a police officer that pairs up with Javert, so you could probably add like the different factory workers if you wanted. You could add some of the prisoners in there from Les Mis, I guess. You know, they could have a cool moveset. They could use their chains to fight maybe. That could be quite cool. Seeing as Pon Pon literally summons a baby to fight with her, I don't know why we can't have someone like Gavroche. But no, instead they went with a robot version of Jean Valjean, a god, and a little bunny. I love this game so much. Despite the weirdness of these characters, there is actually a lot of really good references to the musical in here. Not just in the movesets of these characters, which we'll dive into in a little bit, but also in the stages that these fights take place on. There's the streets of Paris where the barricade forms. There's the sewers underneath Paris where we get sequences like Dog Eats Dog, and where the final confrontation of Javert and Jean Valjean happens, while Valjean is trying to save Marius. There's the docks that we see in Lovely Ladies. So a lot of these locations are very reminiscent of the places that we see in Les Mis, but the real references come in the movesets. So let's go character by character and break down their moves. Let's start with the obvious place, Jean Valjean. Now, when you think of Jean Valjean and trying to adapt him into a fighting game, it makes sense that he is quite a brute character, using a lot of his strength. One of the biggest plot points in Les Mis is Jean Valjean's raw strength. Obviously, during Look Down, we see him lifting the boat, and later on, we see him lifting the runaway cart. So I quite like how a lot of his moves are just raw strength. He punches, he kicks, he hits fast. And you know, I don't find it hard to believe that Jean Valjean can, you know, grab a person, pick them up, spin them round a bajillion times, and then throw them halfway across the map. If he can pick up a runaway cart, he can absolutely body a man. Of course, in the Street Fighter inspiration of it all, we do have some moves that go a little bit beyond the capabilities of what Jean Valjean could probably do. You know, he does have a super punch where he crouches, lunges with a giant blue flash, and then summons Cosette with an uppercut, sending you up into the sky and falling to the ground. Which, you know, I would hazard to say, I don't think musical Jean Valjean could do, but you know, we don't see it, so maybe he could. There's not so much like strong references in the actual animations and the movesets, but some of the names do link up to moments we see in the musical. Namely, Silver Cutlery and Cross of Guilt, both referring to the moment at the start of the musical where Jean Valjean steals the cutlery and the silver from the bishop. This moment being really important to Jean Valjean's story, the catalyst to his redemption arc as a character. So it's nice to see them use that. But then there's also moves like Tornado Throw. A character who does get a lot of references in there is Enjolras. Now, Enjolras is actually one of my favorites when we're talking about adaptation of the characters and their moods and their skill sets into the game itself. As a fighter, it kind of makes sense that he is quite skilled. He leads that rebellion, he leads that charge. I would have liked to see maybe, you know, the iconic red flag in there a little bit more. Maybe he pulls it out and he can just wham you with the red flag. I don't know, that would be quite fun. But instead of having the flag, which I think would have made a better weapon, Enjolras just has a gun. He has a straight up gun. You know, Jean Valjean walks in, fists up, and Honduras is just on the other side like, ch-ch. So obviously, Honduras can shoot you from the other side of the map, but he will also use the weapon to like slam down on you or to beat you up with it. But most of his moves are just shooting you. More of his references come from his special moves. The most obvious one is his level 1 special ability, where he can just summon the entire barricade to slam down upon you, which he will then climb up on and do like a cheer, a little fist up. And if I told you that wasn't even his most powerful attack, would you be surprised? I think you would be. I don't know about you, but I feel like, you know, summoning an entire barricade's worth of wood and planks and random objects to slam down upon you, I think that would end me on a good day. But his other power is called Red or Black, obviously referring to the song Red and Black. You know, red, the blood of angry men, black, the dark of ages past. This moveset leads you just into a full-out assault where Honduras just goes ham. He's punching, he's kicking, he's slamming his gun into you, and he picks you up and slams you back into the ground. A video here on screen ending, again, with an entire barricade slamming down on you. But one of my favorite moves that he does is a move where he can shoot his gun into the sky, which sends a police officer falling down, slamming onto you. Like this man is in Duck Hunt, and there are just random police officers flying in the sky. I love how spry Honduras is. He's a great character in this game. Even if, you know, bringing a gun to a fist fight is a bit much, Honduras. I feel like you can calm it down a bit. Eponine absolutely slays in this game, as she should. And you know, if that wasn't insult enough, she does it with the most sultry walk I have ever seen. This is a true queen, and she must wear her crown. There's a couple of references in the moveset, but actually one of my favorite references comes from her opening animation. When she joins the game, she's wearing her iconic coat, which she throws off to reveal the outfit underneath. A clear reference to her schoolboy disguise that she wears in Act 2 and through the song On My Own. Now, Eponine got the memo and decided, you know, not to bring a gun, but Eponine has a great hand for violence, and I mean it, because a lot of her moves just involve slapping you. You may think that's not very powerful, but girl can slap, and she can slap multiple times. She is giving it all of that. She can send out a little nail, which summons a lightning strike. She has a smoke bomb, which hides her movement. And her most powerful move is absolutely insane, hitting you multiple times from multiple angles, going so fast that it looks like there's a million Eponines. I would even dare to say 9 million Eponines. My favorite reference out of all of her moveset is that she actually has a healing move. This is called Blessed Rain, a reference to her song where she passed away in the musical, A Little Fall of Rain. In that song, the lyric goes, "A little fall of rain could hardly hurt me now." You see? So the move Blessed Rain heals you because a little fall of rain can hardly hurt her now. I love that. That's such a funny reference and really links well into the actual move and the idea behind the moveset. That's brilliant. Like, that is genuinely inspired. If I was to play this game more, hell yes, you know I would be an Eponine main. Oh my god, it's the walk across the map. She is giving. She is giving, she is serving. But probably the funniest characters in this game are the Thénardiers. Oh my god. Takase saw Les Mis, saw Thénardier, and went, that guy is a joke, and I am going to make him the biggest joke of all. Thénardier's moveset is absolutely hilarious. They just go full in with the meme. Now, you fight with both Thénardier and Madame Thénardier on the map. But Madame T is just kind of there for backup. A lot of the time when you're fighting in this game, Madame T is just kind of standing there watching. It's very funny. She can pitch in every now and then to land a hit, but most of the time you will just be wailing on them with Thénardier, and she's just staring very angrily. I love her sprite. Thénardier's moves are chaotic. To best express this, I will say that a lot of his moveset revolves around farting. He has a fart dash, which can send him across the map. He can jump and fart in an opponent's face. There's such a patheticness to his moveset, which feels very Thénardier. He jumps up and doggy slaps you. He flails, he picks his nose. He falls to the ground with his builder's bum showing. But he's also sneaky, he's shifty. He has a lot of weapons like a bear trap and just a straight up knife. But his special moves are wonderful. The first one, he can turn into a ball where he just rolls into you, slamming into you and causing all the damage. I don't know what in the musical made Takashi think, yes, I'm going to make a ball version of Thénardier. You know, like they are just casually a Total Drama Island character. But that's not even the weirdest one, because, you know, Madame T has been standing here. It wouldn't be right if she didn't have something to do. And yes, she can, because one of his special moves is summoning Madame Thénardier to just turn her head giant and breathe fire at you. I would love to see Bonnie Langford try to do that. Honestly, what feels kind of underwhelming is that the most important move, the biggest move, the ultra move for the Thénardiers is just simply called Die, and Thénardier just kind of like pokes you, and then this happens. You know, it's you know, for a character who can turn himself into a ball, make his wife breathe fire like a dragon, I don't know, I was expecting something more flashy. But I mean it when I say that Thénardier's moveset is the most I have laughed at anything in a long time. It's brilliant. It's less so like direct references to the musical, apart from maybe the fact that, you know, they're fighting together. But I don't know, it kind of feels still weirdly in character for a character who is like such a weasel, you know? I'm trying to think, like, what could you actually take more from the moveset? I guess you could have a Master of the House move. Maybe he fights with like a key or something. Maybe he can steal things off you. That could be really cool. Like he steals one of your moves so he can do your special attack. Because yes, the Thénardiers are pathetic in many, many ways, but they also manage to get by because they're crafty, they're slick. But on the whole, very positive with this. This is hilarious. It brought me so much joy. Now, Cosette is someone who I didn't really think was going to be adapted to this game when I first heard of it, because, you know, she's not really much of a fighter. Even in the musical, she's a bit wet. If you can't tell from that, I am more Team Eponine than I am Team Cosette. Then again, though, Marius is also a wet blanket, so honestly, they deserve each other. Eponine deserves better. But I actually think they reflect the lack of fighting experience in Cosette's moveset. First off, the funniest move that she has is just called Cosette Punch. That is hilarious. Go, Cosette Punch! But her moveset is mostly getting her dad to do the heavy work. It's a little bit weird when you can play as Jean Valjean in this game, but, you know, thematically and character-wise, it makes a lot of sense. If she does like an ultra punch, he will appear and punch twice as hard for her. There's an absolutely hilarious move in this game where she can just pick up Jean Valjean, hold him above her head. Let's not question the fact that, you know, she's not a fighter, but can hold her, like, absolutely muscular father over the top of her head, and will throw him at the enemy, where Valjean will pick you up, send you flying into the air, and slam you straight back down. There's another move that feels really thematic, which is the kiss that stops time. It is exactly what it says on the tin. Cosette will give you a little punch, she'll give you a little kiss, time will freeze, and then you have that time to just, you know, hit as hard as you can. She has a much stronger jump than some of the other characters as well. There's some good moves in here. It's less of a flexible moveset that the other characters had, but I think there's a lot that kind of works with, you know, the way that the musical presents her, matching the way that this game presents her. I would have maybe changed the name of Kiss That Stops Time to maybe something like Heartful of Love. Something that feels a little bit more directly as a reference to the song title, but maybe that name makes more sense with the Japanese translation of the musical than it does to the English version that I'm more used to. Now, Javert fights with a lot of aid. It's less so that he gets other people to do the fighting for him, like Cosette. He can still land his own punches and kicks, but they make good use of the fact that Javert, you know, is the head of a police organization. He has a lot of fellow officers who will come to his aid. Let's start first with his other summon, though. One of his most powerful moves is a move called By the Stars, obviously a reference to his song Stars. This move summons a flurry of asteroids that will slam down onto the map. Not quite the stars I think Javert was talking about, but you know, it works its purpose. But, as I previously mentioned, it's the officers where a lot of his moves come in. There's a really nice one that works very similarly to Stop Time, where you can get one of the officers to hold the enemy in place, so that Javert can have a moment or two to get some good hits on you. But the most chaotic and the most powerful move that he has is his ultimate move, Infinite Justice, where Javert can just summon unlimited officers that will charge across the map at you non-stop. They just keep going. They keep coming out of the woodwork. I don't know how many police officers there are in France. It feels like they have a lot more budget to spend on these officers than they should, but Javert has control of all of them. As well as being able to summon officers as Javert, you can actually play as a police officer in Les Mis. This is the only unnamed character that we see in this game, and so not being based on a specific character of the musical, it's harder to find references that link straight up. Do you know where it is easy to find a reference though? The fact that this character's moveset is just taken directly from a Street Fighter character. Yes, every single move that the police officer has is directly from the character of Akuma from Street Fighter. Now, I hear you asking in the comments right now, but Ellie, does the moveset match up to a police officer? Does it make sense? Maybe Akuma is a character who, has a couple of moves that feel like they match this police officer. Nope, this police officer, this 19th century police officer can shoot fireballs, he can Hadouken, he can turn himself into a tornado, he can unleash bloody murder onto you, and he can grab you and slam you into the ground. I don't know who Javert is hiring right now, but I don't know. I feel like this officer has done a deal with a certain figure that Javert would not be very happy with. Because how else has he managed to get this moveset? I feel like it would have actually been okay, especially because, Andres has one, but I feel like it would have made more sense to give the police officer a gun, maybe? I don't know. Instead of, fireballs. I'm not the developer. I'm not the developer, I didn't make this. Our final character, directly based on a character from Les Mis, is Marius. Now, Marius was added quite late into the game, and feels very similar to Honduras. In the musical, Marius is in two minds about fighting. He has his love back home, but he also has his duty to his friends. I don't really feel like that's reflected much in the skill set of Marius, as well as it is the skill set of Cosette. But Marius's moves are pretty cool. He has a fast punch attack. He has a rush that is called Marius Rush, which, honestly, a Cosette punch and a Marius Rush, match made in heaven. But it's his power moves that are absolutely insane. Now, there's a lot of fun references in this moveset. There's one called Memories of Cosette, obviously referring to his love for Cosette. And there's the moves Angry Brothers and My Dead Brothers, obviously referring to the friends that he loses during the June Rebellion. And there's People Song, his most powerful move, which is an obvious reference to the song Do You Hear the People Sing. It's interesting how the English version of this musical uses the words friends a lot. So I'm interested to see if maybe the brothers comes more from the Japanese translation of this musical. But these moves are absolutely insane. Angry Brothers, Dead Brothers, and People's Song summons his dead friends, who are represented as skeletons, to help fight in battle. They can raise up from the ground and use their arms to pull you straight down, and People's Song is just an onslaught, as they raise up alongside Marius and send out sound waves that can combo you into last week, making Marius quite a powerful character with some good references sprinkled in there. And then we get to the characters who are not based on Les Mis characters. But there are still interesting references to pull out here, especially with Pon Pon. Because yes, while it is absolutely hilarious to see a tiny little bunny fight Jean Valjean, there are references in here. Does she feel like she fits? Absolutely not. I mean, even how weird they are, Judgment and Robo-Jean feel like they suit this a little bit more. The bunny is an original character that they created, and the baby that they can summon to fight along with them, yes, it's still really weird, and I know I'm bringing it up with no context, but yes, the bunny can summon a baby, is based on the developer's own child. I think it would have made more sense if they kind of put Pon Pon in as one of Cosette's toys. Maybe the baby they summon is a younger version of Cosette. That could be a nice way to get that character in there. But we got what we got. From this other universe that this bunny comes from, it's just normal to have amazing stretchy limbs. She can teleport. She can bring you, flip you upside down and slam you down. She can summon energy with seemingly no effort and just blast you from the other side of the map. She can bring a car onto the map, a Mini Cooper it looks like, and just perform a casual drive-by. She can summon a giant weight, which she rides and slams down into the middle of the map. And her special attack is so chaotic I can't even describe it, so I will just show it to you now while I make random sounds about how confused I am at this character's entire existence. Then there's Robo-Jean, Robot Jean Valjean. I can't believe that this game's weirdest character isn't the futuristic robot version of the musical's protagonist. You would think, okay, maybe it's a more futuristic version of Jean Valjean's moveset, and maybe there's some cool references that they didn't make with Jean Valjean. No, he has a drill leg, a missile launcher, a blaster in his arm, a laser beam, a grabber claw. He can launch his head outwards. He can summon lightning. He can self-destruct. He can teleport. He can turn his arm into a spear. Man, it's flexible. None of the names of these moves have any significant references to Les Mis. We have Head and Shoulders Assault, Hidden Electric Foe, Electric Shock Grab, Ultra High Power Laser Beam, Continuous Warhead Flurry, Confident Self-Destruction. None of these really speak to Jean Valjean. It honestly feels like they could have just put a robot in here. I mean, if we're gonna have a random bunny, I wouldn't bat my eye much at a random robot. You know, there's some nice details in there, like when you hit him, like different gears and cogs will fall around the place, and if he becomes quite low on health, he'll start sparking. But he seems more like a recolor design of Jean Valjean, just made to kind of be the punching bag in the practice mode, even if his skill set is fairly powerful. And speaking of powerful, then there's Judgment. Judgment is meant to judge the souls of the characters in this game, and probably is meant to judge your judgment of playing this game, because oh my god, he is so overpowered to the point where if you play as Judgment, you literally only need to press one button and you can win every single game. Now, his one downside is he doesn't really have a power gauge, so he doesn't really get as powerful moves as Marius, as Javert, as Jean Valjean. But he does not need it. He walks around the map with his hands in his pockets because he is so casual. He is only using 5% of his power, but he's still going to absolutely demolish you. He does have a couple of unique moves. He can send a shockwave across the map. He can slam you down from the sky. His basic attack is like a stretchy arm that can hit you from the other side of the map, which is why you can practically win every game by just pressing one button. If you attack him, he can auto-attack back with recoil, and he can also teleport. So basically, if you want to win the Les Mis fighting game, don't play as a Les Mis character. Play as Judgment. It is really nice to look at these characters and see such a love for the source material in these movesets. The names, the actual moves themselves. There's clearly a lot of thought that's gone into this. Apart from a few things here and there, they feel really accurate to these characters. Even if, you know, they're given that spark of fighting game and Japanese anime style overpoweredness, I think it still feels, you know, fairly nice. And that's the thing about this game. When you look at it, it's so clear that there's so much passion behind it. And when you read interviews from this developer, he comes across so well. He's really funny. He jokes about how he made the game because he has no friends. And he speaks about how he wanted to give away the game for free just so people can enjoy it. And oh my god, I really enjoyed it. I had so much fun watching these videos, watching these movesets, playing it with my brother, where we were just absolutely cracking up at the ridiculousness of it. And by the end of it, I came away so charmed by it. Is it an accurate representation of Les Mis? Absolutely not. But the influence is so clear that I think it's definitely worth a play or two if you are a fan of games like Street Fighter, or if you are a fan of the Les Mis musical. So as wild as it may sound, there is indeed a Les Mis fighting game, and it is charming. So what do you think? Is this the wildest theatre fact that you can now pull out at parties? If they were to add other characters to this game, what would their movesets be? Or what are some extra moves that these characters could have? Let me know all your thoughts on this topic in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. Here's some links to some other videos on screen right now and a link to my Instagram where you can drop me a follow. I also have other social links and a merch store in the description down below. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!